Hello friends, Tal the Tank here. Welcome to another Legion uh, video here, and this is going to be the first Legion beta video, not alpha. Alpha's done, beta's here. New people have been invited. They've been changing a couple things here and there. They're getting ready for a nice big stress test, and the game is progressing along. Now, I made a comment on the Monday mark saying that today would be Demon Hunter. The problem is the world server's down. I cannot get to my Demon Hunter who is in Valsharar. I cannot get onto a Demon Hunter pre-made on the level 110 PvP realm. I wanted to go ahead and show off my leveling characters, honestly, because I did all the other class updated impressions in the shrine with the PvP characters. I wanted to show my character. I wanted also to show the UI that I've set up here for the fact that um, add-ons are now enabled in the Legion beta. A select number of add-ons, not all of them. It just kind of depends on if they've been updated or not. But I wanted to go ahead and show that all that off. But I can't get to a Demon Hunter. I can't. I tried my best. I can't get to a Demon Hunter that has the artifact and all that kind of stuff. If you notice, this bear doesn't even have the artifact because I got to Moonglade, part of the artifact quest, and then I stopped because I was exhausted. I was intending to finish the artifact before I did this video, but the issue is, of course, I can't get onto any of the actual Legion. The Legion world server is down. So Dalaran, um, the zones, all that kind of stuff, I can't get on there to save my life. I'll have to figure it out a little bit later. Maybe it'll be fixed, but I wanted to bring something out tonight because I promised that it would happen. So I'm gonna go ahead and do something at least. So I'm gonna get this out at least. What this video is gonna be talking about is legendary items, the set bonuses, any other thoughts or still concerns that I may have for the class, and I'm basically going to be talking about that. Today we are going to be doing the Druid. Now, Bear Druid right now is arguably the best tank on the beta. Best in the sense that they have a number of options, number of tools to deal with all the situations. They're very, very strong. They are the strongest tank class right now. Will it stay that way? No, not necessarily. In fact, I would be afraid for Guardian Druids. When everyone is saying that the Guardian Druids are overpowered or they're the best, even if they aren't, Blizzard has a tendency to kind of knock it down a few pegs. And the problem for Bears, at least, have been that in the past, their core mechanics were kind of lame and boring, and being the dodge tank isn't the most fun. But now they've changed quite a bit. They have Iron Fur as their active mitigation, giving you armor when you use it for raids. You can negate magical damage or mark reversal. Frenzied Regen is honestly shit because the amount that it heals you is really not worth as much. It's nice to have a heal for when a big hit hits you, but make no mistake, this will not save you by itself. At least not without artifact traits maxed out and all the other stuff. But essentially, as far as a quick update on the Bear Druid, what it's been like playing it briefly through the Broken Shore, and I wanted to say playing it through the artifact quest, but in all, I mean, my opinions of it still stand. It's a very solid tank. The talent's still here. I like having pulverize at an early level. I like that you can switch between passive talents or talents that are very active and give you more mitigation, more damage. I think that this tier, the affinity tier, is going to be broken in some situations and useless in others. Anytime that you can not tank and do damage instead, this balance affinity is ridiculous. It really does a significant amount of damage. I chose it because I don't actually like Cat Druid too much. But even when you are tanking all the time, you need that move speed. This is fantastic. When you're tanking all the time and you want to be able to heal yourself and your raid, your co-tank, the restoration affinity is nice, which you can also pop into this to just heal your raid when they need it. You have to understand that one of the things that make Guardian Druid so amazing right now is when you do not have to tank, and there's always situations where you don't necessarily have to tank. You have a choice. You can either build up your rage so that when you do tank again, you have a bunch of rage, you have everything maxed out, you have your thrash on the target, or you can switch to restoration and heal the raid up. Save your healer some mana. You can switch to balance or feral and just do some damage. Decent damage. Maybe not as much damage as DPSers, but competitive damage. More damage than you would as a tank. That is powerful. Okay, the affinity tier is going to make or break a couple of situations, and it's going to be the thing that you kind of just is when you shine, essentially. So that's still there. I like that they still have some CC. Galactic Guardian right now, I don't think it's supposed to be 50% chance to trigger a free Moonfire. This kind of triggers off everything, and your rotation basically degenerates into spamming Moonfire for the rage gen. I think that's broken. That has to be switched. But I like this still. Everything else is still pretty cool. Still pretty cool with the Druid. They have a decent amount of rage income. They have very powerful active mitigation that they can use, which, to be honest, active mitigation as a whole for all the tank classes feels kind of weak. It feels bad. I'm going to talk about this more when I go over my very big overview of all the tank changes, tanking, what it's like to tank in Legion, very similar to Preach's tank video. I probably won't be as negative because I think they've made a couple strides in the right direction as far as making tank classes fun to play. But I will say that I have never felt this reliant on my team as a tank to stay alive, and it does feel like your active mitigation is nowhere near as powerful as it was. I'm not talking half as good. I'm not talking, just a little bit less good than it is in WoD. I'm talking you keep this up because without it you die, and with it you are healable. That's how I feel about active mitigation right now. It doesn't feel good, but that's tuning. It needs to change. And I think that I agree that healers need to be more important to tank gameplay than they've been in the past. But I don't like feeling useless without a healer. So that's something I'll cover more in my big tank video. But anyways, quick update on the Guardian Druid. Everything's still pretty cool. Affinity talent, the more that I play this and I get through situations, the more that I think the affinity row is going to be goddamn amazing in any situation that you don't have to tank, which makes me question if they're going to make a lot of situations where you constantly need to have 2 or more tanks up all the time, because they have to keep in mind that Guardians have so much flexibility. I honestly think Guardian Druid might be the go-to. If they just nerf a couple of the numbers, make them take a little more damage, I still would say that Guardian Druid is the best possible choice for a Mythic Raid tier raider, because you have more healing and more damage on demand when you want it, when you need it. Do not misunderstand or underestimate the power of that when it comes to Mythic raiding. But anyways, I want to show you guys something cool. If you're in the beta, or once Legion actually comes out, if you go to the Dungeon Journal, you have the suggested content, Dungeons Raid, Loot. You can switch between Legendaries and item sets for your Guardian Druid or for any of the other specs. So we're going to take a look at the set bonuses first, and then we're going to be taking a look at the Legendaries. So, as far as set bonuses go, all classes have this cool little order hole set that you can choose. It's very similar to the challenge mode set of the past, but it's not exact, and if you see here, the models aren't even in yet. It's very similar to the artifact, to the challenge mode quest gear from MOP, except with different colors, not as good shoulders. Overall, they're okay, but they're not great. But anyways, you can see here, this will probably be one of the first sets that you can get your hands on, just going through the artifact, not the artifact, but the order hole campaign, doing all that. And it's an 8 out of 8 set. The 6-piece increases your agility by 1,000, and your 8-set Mangle, Star Search, and Regrowth have chance to increase your mastery by 700 for 10 seconds. As you can see, it's very bland, it's very normal, it doesn't have too much going on for it. If you do manage to pick up the set before raiding, it'll probably be nice, but it's not going to be a be-all, end-all type thing. This is just nice to have. But now we're going to go into the garb of the Astral Warden. You can see here, looks pretty cool on a Tauren. This is going to look fucking fantastic on a Night Elf. And you can see that the cloak is actually a part of the set now. And you can get 6 items out of the set, but you still have a 2 and a 4 set. So you have more variety and more options in what you're going to be picking up. But anyways, what are the set bonuses? Your 2 set. Your abilities have an additional 10% chance to trigger Gore. What is Gore? Oh my god, I'm so happy I can actually open 3 of these. I was expecting that to completely fuck me. Gore is your passive that causes Thrash, Swipe, and Moonfire each to have a 15% chance to reset the cooldown on Mangle and cause it to generate an additional 4 rage. So what does this mean? You have 2 set. You're going to be triggering Gore more often, which is going to let you mangle more, which is going to give you more rage. When I was playing this through the very beginning stuff, I found myself barely using Maul, which is good because Mull is your rage dump. It's what you use when you have too much rage, you don't know what to do with it, you're trying to get rid of it because you don't want to waste resources. I was barely pressing this because I always felt like I had to keep up Iron Fur, I had to make sure that I was using Pulverize, Mangle, Thrash on cooldown, I was AoEing with Swipe, I was using Moonfire because Swipe is basically your AoE filler, and Moonfire is your single target filler. Do not mistake Maul for the same purpose of Moonfire or Swipe, because these are fillers in your rotation, and this is your rage dump. This is, I have too many resources, I don't know what to do with it, more Iron Fur won't help me. You use this to get rid of it or to do extra damage, while these just being your fillers for in the middle of your rotation when everything's on cooldown and you don't need Pulverize at the moment, you don't have enough rage or anything like that. So I found myself barely using Maul, which is going to be good because that means that as you get more gear and you progress, you'll have more chances to use that. And at the moment, you're just spending your rage really on Iron Fur or Frenzied Regen and Mark Reversal aim when the time comes to it. So that's good. Your 2-set is good. It's not super crazy powerful, but it's good, it's useful. You're going to probably want it. Your 4-set, though, is Mangle increases the duration of your next Iron Fur or Frenzied Regen by 1 second, stacking 3 times. So what does this mean? It means that you're going to, at times, you're going to want to use up Mangle, let it go through its cooldown a couple times before you use Iron Fur or Mark Reversal. My issue with it is it's only a second. And I think we can all agree that it's probably going to be you use Mangle, it's going to give you a little buff, but then you use Iron Fur so often, and you're going to want to have it up often because, again, active mitigation is the way you stay alive in this world. Active mitigation is no longer a response to threatening events. Active mitigation is how you stay alive and don't get plastered onto the floor. Keep that in mind. This is ultimately going to probably make this 4-set be negligible. Unless they buff it a little bit, you're probably going to want your 2-set. The 4-set will be nice to have, but it probably won't be something you're like, oh god, I need to get my 4-set, it's so powerful. Which again, Guardian Druid is strong right now. They don't necessarily need a very powerful 4-set. And you could even look at this in the sense that because they have such a strong base kit, maybe they won't get immediately nerfed. Maybe it's okay to have a weak 4-set so they can see how it kind of irons out through the raid tier. Something to keep in mind. Overall, I like the 2-set. It's a very standard 2-set. The 4-set, it affects your rotation in a sense, but it's nothing too crazy. Keep that in mind. So now we're going to take a look at the Legendaries. Now this is the point of contention. What we know about Legendaries thus far is it will be very rare. You can sort of target the one that you want specifically. You will not be able to immediately use it in Mythic content. And when you are able to use it, you'll only be able to equip one until you do your order hole campaign, and you can unlock more. And as the expansion progresses, you'll be able to use more and more legendaries at once. So what does this mean for me, in my opinion? This means that before raiding starts, you want to try to collect as many of these legendaries as you can. Once you have a bunch of these legendaries, and then you are able to use it in mythic raids, you will then need to make sure that you're using the correct legendary for the correct situation. Now, I haven't moused over these because I'm trying to get all these thoughts out before I start looking at things, because it's very likely that maybe 2 of these are going to be fucking amazing, and a couple of the other ones are going to be very situational, to the point where maybe you don't even have to worry about it. But you have to keep this in mind. These legendaries are being designed in a way that it probably makes sense to swap them out depending on the situation, depending on what you have available to you, and how many you can equip at once. So chances are, if you're very diligent about getting the legendaries, and as long as they literally don't make it impossible to, you should be able to have multiple of these in your bags. Okay? All of that falls apart if you could literally go 5 months into expansion and not get a legendary. If that is something that can happen, and other people are running around with 4 or 5 legendaries, the system is fucked to begin with. Okay? There's a lot of negative things that I think about this system. There's a lot of shit that I don't like, but I haven't played with it yet. I haven't gotten a chance to see what the realistic drop rate is, and as a person that has to get a bunch of these on 6 different characters, I'll fucking know what it's like to have this hell. But maybe it'll be good. Let's see. So the first legendary is a neck piece. I'm not even going to try to say these names because holy hell. But it's a neck piece. It's eye level 895. It's very powerful. If you look back on the raid sets, the item level is 875. So standard, this legendary is 20 item levels higher from the raid set, which you're probably going to get from the Nighthold, not the Emerald Nightmare, because the Emerald Nightmare will be like the Highmaul to the Blackrock Foundry that is the Nighthold. I don't know for sure. That just kind of seems like what it would make sense. But anyways, the effect is after not taking damage for 5 seconds, you gain an Absorb Shield for 25% of your max health for 30 seconds. This can only occur every 30 seconds. What does this mean? As a tank, this probably won't be as big of a deal. When you're off tanking, so when your co-tank is tanking something and you're just kind of sitting around because you had to tank off on the debuffs, all that kind of stuff, as long as your debuff isn't dealing damage to you, you'll be able to have a 25% max health absorb shield by the time you're fighting the boss again. The thing to keep in mind about this is Guardian Druids receive more healing and have more health than any other tank from their mastery. If you look at your mastery, it's going to increase the damage and healing done by, that's versatility. Increase your maximum health and healing received by 16%. So heals will always be stronger on you, and you will have more health. You are like a sponge. So this has the potential to be a very powerful absorb shield. It's only going to be useful though when you haven't been taking damage. So when you're actively tanking a boss, chances are this will not proc as much. So it'll probably be something nice to have, but it won't be as big of a deal for you, in my personal opinion. I'm going to go ahead and guess. The next one is a ring, and after successfully applying a disorient, fear, incapacitate, after successfully CCing some shit, you get 70% move speed. Will there be uses for this? Probably. Is it great? Probably not. This is very, very specific to CCing targets, and while you do have a number of CCs, you have a, let's see, you can interrupt, which, was that an interrupt? No, no interrupting, but you can stun, you can disorient with disorienting roar, let's see where that, yeah, incapacitating roar, you have roots. Like, you'll be able to proc this, sure, but the move speed will only be helpful in certain situations when you're running around, when you're trying to escape things. I don't see this as being as big of a deal while you're raid tanking. Then you have a belt that causes your attacks to cause an additional 100% damage as physical to enemies above 95% health. It's sort of like what marksmanship hunters had before. I don't know if they still have this, but it's what they used to have, where instead of an execute at the end, they had something with above 80% health, you did more damage, or everything crit, or something like that. Seems like that. It just gives your attacks to cause 100% additional damage as physical to enemies above 95% health. Most bosses lose that health threshold very, very quickly. So I kind of feel like this is useless, personally, besides the fact that it's just high item level. I mean, most bosses you lust in the beginning, and even if you don't lust, I mean, the chances of it staying higher than 95% health for more than a couple of seconds, if we're being honest, guys, is not very high. This will be good for when you're fighting multiple targets or ads or anything, and even by yourself, but only for such a short time that I don't see this being useful at all, now that I think about it. So yeah, I don't think this will be a great one, personally. I would even probably take this over the waste. Then you have a chess piece that increases the effect of Astral Influence, Feline Swiftness, Thick Kite, and Ysera's Gift by 50%. Now, what are these spells? These are your affinities. So what does this do? This increases the range of all your abilities. Let's see, 50%. So 50% of 5 is, it's going to make it, what, like 7 yards. So this will increase the yards that you have on Balance Affinity. It'll increase your move speed by a little bit more, or it will increase the amount that you're healing when you use the Restoration Affinity. So overall, that actually is a pretty cool chest, especially if you're going to be relying on choosing the right affinity for the right situation. Now, remember, it's very specifically Astral Influence, Feline Swiftness, and Ysera's Gift. So it's not going to make, for example, your Moonkin spells do more damage. It's just going to give you more range on them. It's not going to make your Cat Druid spells do more damage or your healing spells heal for more. It's just going to give the very specific passive buff that you get be more effective. And specifically with the Restoration one, it's going to make you heal other people as well as yourself for more. Pretty cool. I like this one. It's not stupidly brokenly powerful, but it gives you a nice little bonus. Then you have feet that make Frenzied Regeneration heal you for an additional 15% of your max health over 5 seconds. Boom. We're getting to the good shit. We're getting to the stuff that actually matters for Guardian Druids. Now, I said that Frenzied Regen doesn't really do much. It doesn't. It doesn't feel too great. It's very reliant on taking damage beforehand, similar to Death Strike. Death Strike right now is neutered. It is the sad, pathetic Theon Greyjoy of the death strikes, of all the death strikes in the past. It doesn't heal you for very much because it's relying on you taking damage, and it's only 30% of that damage. And it feels like consumption is the big dick Ramsey Bolton of this situation. Versus Death Strike. So that doesn't feel too great. And Frenzied Regeneration also kind of feels like that, but it's not your main thing. It's not like Death Strike where you feel bad about using it when it used to be so amazing. So Frenzied Regen doesn't heal you for too much, but with this, it's going to heal you for 15% of your maximum health baseline. That means when you need 15% heal or more, because you're still going to heal for 40% of the damage you take in the last couple seconds, you use this, and it's going to be a hot. Remember that. It is a hot. It's not a burst of healing. It is a hot that will heal you over time, which is almost always better than a burst because a hot cannot be wasted. You can be low on health, use Frenzied Regen, and not hit the max amount of health that you have, but then over time it will get you back up. It will keep you stable, which is important to know. Off the bat, I like this one. This is something you're probably going to want to have because Frenzied Regen baseline does not heal you enough. Sadly, what I would do right now in a normal video would be look at the artifact trait, see anything that buffs Frenzied Regen, because I don't remember off the top of my head. But I can't do that because, of course, the world servers are down. And if I get my artifact quest and do all that kind of stuff, I will be screwed because the world server would fuck me and I wouldn't be able to make this video. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to look up really, really quickly. Let's see if I can find this. I'm looking up the Guardian artifact traits. I'm going to see if I can find them. I really hope that I can find them because if not, I'm going to look like a giant asshole. And that's not fun. Shit. Oh god, what is the name of this thing? It's Claws of Ursoc. Okay, we got this. Claws of Ursoc. And... oh god, I'm starting to panic. Trait calculator. There we go. Oh my god. I know how to wowhead. Perfect. So, going through the traits real quick. I see obviously Rage of the Sleeper, which is the nice reflect that it has. Rage of the Sleeper. Stamina, bleed damage, movement speed, bark skin, increases the healing. Okay, so you have a trait that increases the healing done by Frenzied Regen by 5%. It has 3 ranks. So 15% heal. Increase on Frenzied Regeneration. So you have that. Let's see, Survival Instincts, damage, Trigger Core, Armor, Elemental damage, duration of bark skin, mark. Okay, so the only thing that I'm able to see here that affects Frenzied Regen is the Wild Flesh, which increases the healing done by Frenzied Regen. So you can increase the healing that Frenzied Regen does baseline, and then on top of that you add a 15% maximum health heal to it. This will make Frenzied Regen a powerful tool, another powerful tool, and an actual good active mitigation tool. I like this one. This could possibly be the one that you almost always want to run, depending on what the other 3 are. So, now we have Dual Determination. I said that one because it's easy to say. Survival Instincts gains 1 extra charge and recharges 20% faster. Holy fucking shit. Survival Instincts is your shield wall. It reduces all the damage for 50%, by 50% for 6 seconds. Sorry, I can't words. And it has 2 charges. With a talent, you can make that have a 50% less cooldown. So baseline, this is 2 charges for 4 minutes. This makes it 2 charges at 2 minutes. This would give you 3 charges at 2 minutes with a faster recharge. So that means you're getting charges more often. You're having your shield wall up more and more and more and more and more. This is very powerful. Whereas this makes Frenzied Regen actually feel good to use. This makes you have more shield walls. Okay, you already have 2 on a charge system at 2 minutes. Prot Warriors have a 4-minute cooldown. Okay? Demon Hunters have a 3-minute cooldown to use their demon form, which just increases their health. It doesn't reduce damage. This is flat out reduce all the damage, be a fucking baller, and now have more charges. Very, very powerful. You are going to want to have both of these because in very specific situations you're going to need more cooldowns, and other situations you're going to need more overall healing. So here we're getting to the part. These kind of feel like baseline ones. This is kind of a thing that I think every class gets. This is probably another one that almost every class gets. This is very specifically rogue, monk, druid, demon hunter. This is more all the druids. And now this is the big fucking bear shit. Okay, then you have loofah wrappings. Increases the damage and radius of thrash by 25%. So now you can see here that you have some choices. When you don't need the extra survivability of an extra cooldown or of more healing, you can choose to do more damage and have a bigger thrash radius. Thrash already has a pretty huge radius, and it looks fucking fantastic. So that just increases your damage and the range of that damage by 25%. So when you don't need the survivability, you go for this to do more damage. And then you have Thrash can stack up to 2 more times. I think out of these 4 that are very specifically Guardian Druid, this is the more flexible one in that it lets you have 5 stacks of Thrash, which if you combine it with things like Rend and Tear, it also increases the damage by 2% for application of Thrash. That means if you're not using Pulverize, you can have 10% damage extra that you're doing and 10% damage less that you're taking. You can also make this generate, while at 3 stacks. So maybe this does not work with that because that would be 5 stacks. Maybe you'd be generating too much rage and they don't want that. But there we go. You have that interacting with Thrash and making it so that more stacks is going to be giving you more bleed, which is going to make Mangle do more damage. So this is another way of increasing your damage, but also it lets you, for example, have 2 pulverizes back to back, which do a decent amount of damage, and more importantly, you can kind of just save them and bank them. If you're tanking 2 targets or more, you can bank Thrash charges around you as long as the targets are alive, and you can pulverize, keep doing your rotation, pulverize, keep doing your rotation, keep pulverize up all the time, which you can already do single target, but it lets you not have to think about it or worry about it as much, and it interacts with things such as Rend and Tear. So that's very, very interesting. I can easily see you wanting all 4 of these. Specifically, Dual Determination and Sky Sex Hold are probably the most important ones to have, with this being a very specific DPS only legendary, and this having you some flexibility for Thrash. This probably will not be as strong as these 2. Personally, I'm just going to go ahead and guess in the future. But these 2 you want to have if you're serious about tanking, especially Mythic tanking. So you will need to focus on Sky Sex Hold, and you will need to focus on Dual Determination. These other 4 are not as great. You will probably never need this ring that does the Incapacitate or the CC. You might want this neck for the shield, but probably not. And you're most likely going to want this just to increase the passive benefit of your affinity. But for just one legendary that you can use, you're going to take Dual Determination or Sky 6 Hold, flat out. So already you can see that, yes, these legendaries are powerful. Yes, these legendaries are important. And yes, if you don't have this legendary and someone else does, they are better than you. Okay? Will they use it correctly? Who knows? Maybe they're a ship player. But they have the higher ceiling and potential than you have. So yes, these legendaries are mandatory, guys. Let's be for real. We're Mythic Raiders. Again, please, everyone who comments on this video or watches this video, understand I'm talking about a Mythic raiding perspective. For Mythic Raiders, for a Mythic tank who's trying his best to be useful to the team, stay alive, do some damage, and help your team be the best they could possibly be, you need to get this ring finger. You need to get these feet for the bonus, because that is a powerful set bonus. That's more powerful than your 4 set, guys. Let's be for real. This by itself, this ring is more powerful than 4 of your tier items put together for their set, not the stats. So yeah, I mean, you can already see that this is going to be very important. So Guardian Druids already have a very strong core, a very strong set of tools to handle the situations, and some flexibility to handle other situations when they're not called upon to tank. And with this, they have even stronger defensives, more healing, little more damage, and then a little bit of flexibility with your Thrash stacks. So very, very interesting. I again will reiterate that Guardian Druids are right now looking like the best goddamn tank, because they have flexibility, they have many options to deal with different situations, and when they're not needed to tank, they can do actual DPS or actual healing. It's very important to keep that in mind. But yeah, anyways, this is basically how I'm going to go ahead and cover all the other tanks. I will try to get my characters in a good place. Maybe I won't do this on the Legion areas, because obviously if the world server's down, I'm fucked and I can't record anything. But this is basically how I'm going to do all the videos for these guys. I'm going to be talking about the legendaries, the set bonuses, how their class mechanics are going to be affected by the legendaries and the set bonuses, and any other remaining thoughts I might have on these tank classes. But yeah, I mean, Guardian Druids, man. Fucking Guardian Druids. I don't necessarily want to play a Guardian Druid, but I almost feel like I have no choice at this point because goddamn are they strong right now. But anyways, guys, if you like this video, go ahead and subscribe if you want to see more of this type of content. If you want to get notified for when it comes out, please drop me a like. And I hope that you guys have a fantastic time trying out the beta. If you're in it, please don't freak out about the phasing and everything. This is beta. Beta is beta. This is what you have to deal with. You have to deal with workarounds. You know, I can't do Demon Hunter right now. I'll do Druid instead. I got to get something out there for you guys. But also, I just really, really want to thank you guys for taking the time to listen to me talk about this shit. If you listen the whole way through, I really appreciate it, and I just want you guys to know that, it means a lot to me. It really does. But anyways, this has been my legendary items set bonus guide here to the Bear Druid, and just my overall thoughts about how fucking good bears are going to be this next expansion. I'm not even talking about Rage of the Sleeper, which is the artifact ability, and that shit's fucking ridiculous as well. But I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and instead of I'm going to just try to do Demon Hunter, DK, Warrior, Paladin, Monk then, instead of like switching Demon Hunter and Druid. But yeah, I mean, you guys get Druid early. Anyways, guys, have a wonderful day.